Welcome to the Tauranga Chamber of Commerce Thought Leadership Series. Of course, today we have the great opportunity to focus in on the hospitality, tourism and retail sector. It is, of course, a really big day for two reasons. Not only is it budget day and announcements of what further support we're going to get for a particularly hard-hit sectors of retail, hospitality and tourism, but we also, of course, it's the start of level 2. So hopefully, like many of you, I popped out and got a coffee and grabbed something out of the cabinet this morning. It's been great. Yeah, and I think we have people are still trickling in. But since we're recording this anyway, and I know time's pretty critical, why don't we kick into things? And I'd like to introduce our first guest, Kristin Dunne. She is the CEO of Tourism Bay of Plenty. She's obviously had a very big 6 months, I suppose, jumping from one issue to the next after Whakaari, White Island, and of course, dealing with COVID-19. Kristin's obviously been very well renowned throughout internationally, doing a lot of speaking events, and has done a lot of thinking about Tourism Bay of Plenty and how it's changed from, say, a marketing organization to a proper destination management. So it's getting in and supporting a lot of the tourism businesses. Kristin, do you want to introduce yourself?
Kia ora, everybody, and thanks, Matt, for that introduction. I think we're spending so much time on Zoom these days that all I'm seeing is me aging before the screen. So I'm looking forward to not seeing myself for a while on a screen. Thank you. We have been, like all businesses, really hard hit. But the good thing is we've got cred, right? We've come back from Rena, we were coming back from Whakaari, and we know how to bounce back from these things. So we're an amazing, resilient bunch of people here in the Bay of Plenty. And we had a call with some specific tourism operators yesterday, about 50 of them. And I was really impressed with the resilience and the positivity and just how they were changing their businesses to respond to where we are at. There's lots of things to feel positive about level 2, positive about the budget today and the hope that it's going to give continued support for the industry, and also just really positive about the Bay and what we've got to offer. We are a strong domestic tourism destination anyway. 78% of our visitors come from are the New Zealanders, so we're a favourite place for people to come on holiday, and we're already starting to see bookings coming back through accommodation providers. Expedia are telling us that bookings for the Bay are lifting already for June onwards, and we're starting to see some flights come back. I guess for us, from the industry yesterday, the cruise side of tourism in the Bay is likely to be fairly non-existent for this summer at least, and unknown how quickly that will come back. So anyone who's been 100% cruise focused or 100% internationally focused, you know, obviously level 2 isn't bringing a lot of relief for them. So we're still working hard with them from a business support perspective. Other than that though, lovely to see the lights back on and people starting to operate again. Hot pools open up tomorrow night. The Mount, Dolphin Safaris doing wonderful bubble pods of just tours with just, you know, you and your own 9 people that you love. And so just wonderful to see all the innovation.
Great. Oh, thank you very much for that. Yeah, there's some good points there that we might touch on later on. For those that participants that are watching in the audience, feel free to use the chat or the Q&A, and we'll try and get through some questions that pop up. However, I might introduce our second guest, very astute businesswoman, Rachelle Duffy, who's a director, founder of Little Big Events, Little Big Markets, various other social enterprises throughout the community. It's a delight to have you on, Rachelle. And yeah, well, feel free to introduce yourself.
Thanks so much, Matt. It's really nice to be able to be part of this group. I feel quite privileged actually. So thanks for inviting me to come and talk today. Like Kristin has said, you know, like level 2's obviously happened today. So there's definitely a bit of a buzz in the air. Like I can sort of see through social media that it's sort of like shifted a little bit. So that's really great to see. I mean, I think in our area. It's about sort of, there's a lot of waiting games. And so, you know, for us, it's like level 2's here, which is great. And now we look forward to sort of seeing what happens on the 21st of May, what happens with the budgets. And then that'll kind of decipher what happens in different industries like retail, events, hospo, you know, tourism. So I think, yeah, it's really great to be able to have that dialogue and discussion now so that we can prepare and sort of future-proof what the next steps are. But you know, we've done such a fantastic job. I'm so proud to be a Kiwi. I'm so proud to be able to say that, you know, we've kind of made it through, and let's hope that it stays that way. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thanks for that. Yeah, I absolutely think Kiwi nostalgia and patriotism is certainly lifted. And it'll be great to get some sporting events back on the calendar, because I think national pride will be at an all-time high. Andrew Targett, just wanted to introduce you. I know you're busy at the moment, still opening your kitchen on first day. You are the regional president of the Restaurant Association for the Bay of Plenty. Yeah, so really appreciate opening day. You still made time to be here. Feel free to introduce yourself.
Hey, cool. Thank you all very much. Yeah, thank you for being part of this little kind of chat. Yeah, we've had a really good morning this morning. Customers have been extremely positive. There's been a good kind of flow through the door. People are very respectful of the new rules and adapting to rules. So that's been it's been really nice. The customers are really, they're kind of, the understanding, I guess the supermarkets have trained them quite well to keep their distance, and obviously filling out a new kind of contact tracing form. We've got an app, we've got a QR code. So there's some stuff around that that's working quite well, and quite a few providers are providing free contact tracing through an app, which is really nice. Yeah, I guess the last kind of 6 months has been pretty full on. I've experienced nothing like this before in the whole career. So, but I think it's an opportunity, actually. I really think we have an opportunity to reset on how hospo looks and what our focus is regionally, nationally as New Zealand. And I think we should grab the opportunity.
Right. Yes. Thank you, Andrew. Oh, no, you're fine. You're in a working kitchen, working restaurant. So no, thanks for joining us. So obviously today, very big announcement. Not only have we gone into level 2, and lots of businesses are operating. At 2 o'clock today, Minister Grant Robinson, who we had on last week for his pre-budget announcement, is making his big budget announcements. And I think it's going to be rather unprecedented in terms of the size and scope to address some of the challenges. Just first of all, Kristin, what are your thoughts or hopes for budget later on today?
Well, my fingers are crossed. I'm on the board of Regional Tourism New Zealand, and amongst others, we've been lobbying hard for the sector. That includes retail, hospo, and tourism operators, transport operators, and we're hopeful that there's going to be support, ongoing subsidy of some description, and also in the event space, particularly some support coming through. So they've said the budget's all about jobs and keeping jobs and creating jobs and helping people to transition to jobs. And so, boy, oh boy, does our industry need that.
Yeah, I'd say, that is quite like over the whole sector will be similar, including retail. Rachelle, any hopes or aspirations from today?
Yeah, I'm the same with Kristin. It's like, for us, it's one of those scenarios where I think it's all about keeping people in jobs and circulating money through the economy. And the only way that we can do that is with help and support from our government. I feel like they've done a really fantastic job so far to support us all in this space that we're in at the moment. And I hope that, it's one of those things, we're not going to be able to see change for probably another 3 to 6 months. And if we don't get support from the government between that time, we're kind of going to undo the work that we've already done. So it is really important for this budget to be able to come through for us all on all different levels of businesses as well. It's not just small businesses, it's large businesses, it's all businesses. And so I think that I'm fingers crossing. I'm really hoping that, they've seen the work that they've done so far and want to continue that on. And I think it's really important for the government to see that, which I'm hoping they will.
Andrew, do you share similar thoughts?
Yeah, I think the budget today, I hope it's got some real support for hospo. You know, obviously Tauranga, but all over the country, especially Queenstown. You know, I've had friends from Millbrook estate down in Queenstown. They're going through a restructure at the moment because they couldn't hold on. You know, like it's kind of like, do you hold on and wait for the budget announcement, or do you make decisions? You either lose everyone or you lose part. You know, it's kind of, I think hospo, especially in high risk areas, that's where they're at. They've got to make a decision, and because the restructure process takes a month, you know, you've got a month of wages plus you've got their annual leave liability, so it all adds up. So I think yeah, today will be a big day, and that this will determine a lot of businesses how they react in the next 4 weeks, really.
Yeah, it's very timely ahead of that 30th of June deadline for wage subsidy. A few of you have spoke about customers, and you know, we all need to support local. We know that. Perhaps what are your thoughts on how customers have changed for the business owners that are listening? What do they need to think about in terms of the way customers are behaving, particularly domestically, in the short term?
Yeah, I think they're quite open to technology. I think finding you know, receptive to, we've got an app being developed at the moment, and that's to obviously help us market to our customers directly, to reward customers. Yeah, I think it's going to be technology driven, and I find that they feel like they want to support. I really get that feeling. You know, even we were open at level 3 doing takeaways, contact takeaways, and it was just a lot of support, lots of love out there, which is really cool.
Rachelle?
I kind of feel like, you know, we live in a space that we have people-to-people contact in terms of retail and events, and it's one of those scenarios where we also need our digital marketing to market us and our businesses. And I think that some people are really good in that space and some people aren't. And now that this kind of been flattened and everyone has to be good in that space, I think that that's only the positives that we can get out of this, is that if we can all be pushed into being digital focused because we have to now, that's actually only going to pivot businesses in a more positive manner. When we get out of this, they'll be like, wow, I've been able to save time. I've been able to market my business effectively. I've been able to push myself forward to places that I wouldn't have pushed myself forward before. So I do believe that in some respects, us going through this change and going through that digital side of things, that it's actually going to be better for us in the long run across all businesses. And I firmly believe that it's, even though it's been tough, it's actually pushed us and forced us to want to be digital's friends, you know, like, and I think that's a positive that we can take out of this.
Kristin, what about people outside of the region that are coming here? Do they share the same loyalty to local businesses?
Good question. I mean, I think one of the things that we're not sure of yet is just what people's fear factor are going to be. How fearful are they going to feel about leaving their home region even, and traveling to a new place? We were also seeing a lot of excitement though for getting out and about and doing things. So that's why we've really focused on locals first and building local, that love that you talked about, Andrew, local pride, getting out and amongst our own favourite things. And then when we do start being able to welcome back New Zealanders from further afield, as locals, we're going to be so proud to share those things with them too, right? And we'll be really the biggest champions for our own region. So I think we do just need to be a bit mindful that people are concerned. They're not sure how level 2 is going to go. No one wants to go backwards. So I think if we can all get out and about in our own region, and you know that extends from Waihi Beach down to Whakatane, right? You can leave Tauranga Moana and go have some fantastic experiences just next door and still be within your own kind of regional bubble. So yeah, we'll bear that in mind too.
And Kristin, could we stay with you for a moment? You spoke at the introduction talking about people that were 100% reliant on cruise ships having to diversify. So we spoke about how the customers are changing. What are some tips in terms of businesses having to pivot towards more of a domestic market for the 12 months or longer?
Yeah, good question. So we are really lucky here that we have been so domestically focused anyway, but we definitely have businesses here that we're 100% focused on either international or cruise. And in cruise, you know, it's a big question mark over traveller behaviour changes there. it is about experiences. It's about the combination of domestic visitors coming, where they stay, where they eat, what they do, and that's all driven by personal recommendations, generally speaking. So we have a large amount of visiting friends and relatives, VFRs. They want to know from a local what to do next. So that's why us as TBOT being able to help all of our locals feel informed about the options. There are so many things to see and do here, and it's about us getting out and seeing and doing them, and then being able to share that with the visitors that come. That's a really important part. It's a subtle difference in everyone's marketing. This isn't about promotional campaigns so much. It is absolutely about local love and loyalty first and foremost, and then sharing that with the domestic visitors that come in and be with us. It's also about events, of course, having triggers to bring people here that are going to utilize these services. And then we've already been marketing so much domestically as an organisation, so we're really happy to meet with anybody and share those. And we're seeing the likes of Queenstown, the likes of Rotorua, and some of those really big tourism markets, you know, just being very unsure about how to switch to now marketing to domestic.
Great. Is there any opportunity, and this is for everyone, is there any opportunity for accommodation providers to be quite proactive at suggesting to any visitors that turn up to visit these retailers, you know, depending on who they are, visit my favorite cafe spot just down the road around the corner? Is there any opportunity for partnerships like that to form?
100%. They ask the bus drivers, the people they're sitting next to on the plane, they ask the cafe person that they walk into, they ask the person who serves them their ice cream, they ask where they're staying, what should we do today? What would you do today? And so that's where we can all absolutely spread that love. And on the industry call that we had yesterday, you had a lot of those businesses talking about how they can work together better. Hot Pools, for example, and Bay Station, they've already got locals cards, so inviting others to join in on that program. And there are definitely lots of opportunity to go out, see a fellow business, hear what they do, and then share their story with others. And that's what we're trying to do in the media as well, as share those local business stories so that we understand the people behind the businesses, because that makes us feel more connected to them.
Yeah, go Rachelle.
Right. I think that, like, you know, a big part of Bay of Plenty in business is what we've experienced is collaboration. Like that's kind of what's been part of our business from the moment that we started it. And so I think that in terms of we can't be an individual singular business anymore. It has to be, and we can't sort of be like, oh, we're competing with all these other people. It can be like, hey, we're all in this together. And, you know, sort of like if we band together and talk about each other and do giveaways together and do social things together and things like that, like that's really is what's going to be key in this. I think if you think that now post-COVID that you're just going to open your doors and everything's just going to, you know, go back to normal, it's not like that anymore. And I think that collaboration is a super key element to business these days in terms of socially as well as like face-to-face. And I think that's definitely something that I feel that a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners here in Bay of Plenty are really good at. We're really good at collaborating. We're really good at sort of like banding together and doing things together. So I think that now is going to be the time for us to really pivot and make sure that continues to grow stronger.
Yeah. Andrew, is there much collaboration happening in your sector?
I think there could be more. I definitely did a little bit of research last night, just having a little kind of feel around the opportunities, really. Obviously, we're part of the restaurant associations. I talk to other presidents from other regions and look at their success stories. And there's one that kind of came to mind when I was prepping for this a little bit, and that's Wellington on a Plate, where they basically they have from takeaway night to fine dining night, and they get the whole hospitality and tourism industry involved in it. I think we could probably, you know, help that have a bigger initiative around the kind of not being so insular, more broader. And obviously I'm not based in the Tauranga CBD, but I definitely feel like I know they're doing work on Eat Street at the moment and there's quite a lot happening, but I think they need an overall kind of committee to help drive that with some local government support would be amazing. Out of what else do I look at? out of the earthquakes in Christchurch, there was a little website called neatplaces.co.nz. If anyone's had a look at that, very kind of not a place where people do reviews on hospitality and retail. It's more about where they find that secret spot, that the thing that locals love. And I thought that as a website, it kind of came across in a really nice way. I'm not sure their business model. I think they're funded a little bit by local government, but yeah, it's kind of cool. It focuses on culture, eating, and partnerships. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, you're right, Andrew. It's all about the experience. We've got a question here from Lynn Cobblestone about, there's a couple of questions in there around using creative technologies better, but also is there a definitive list for things to do in our area, whether it's social or website? Kristin, that's probably a good plug for your new website, right?
Yeah, thanks for asking, Lynn. We didn't plant her, I promise. So we did start the development of a new website over 6 months ago. It got a little bit held up with COVID, but actually has been launched at exactly the right time. And you'll see when you go to it that it is about that whole proposition as a destination. So where can I stay? Where can I eat? What should I do? And that covers everything from shopping through to attractions and what have you, as well as free attractions. So we strongly encourage you, and Gemma will probably have heart failure when I say this, to be in touch with us and add a listing to that site, and we would very proudly carry the amazing businesses that we have here on that site going forward.
Rachelle, I think Our Place had a really good list, mainly for level 3, around all the takeaway options. Do you know of anything else that's available?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's really difficult because I feel like, there's a lot of different spaces that you can go to. I mean, obviously it's fantastic. We work with Tourism Bay of Plenty quite a lot across all the things that we do. And it's great that they've been able to launch their website, because I think it's been really needed in terms of there's lots of different websites that you can go to. And I think that there just kind of needs to be one filter. We obviously have a local magazine, which is Our Place magazine, which we kind of started just because of the fact that we just needed a place to sort of talk of local stories. And so we've kind of started sort of doing a few things there, just from what we've seen, the trends on social media and across sort of the different avenues. We felt like there was a little bit of a need for not necessarily all the commercial stuff that's happening, but sort of like Andrew was saying, like the underground of different places, the sweet spots, the sort of like the diamonds in the rough that you don't all really know. So we started a list in level 3 because we knew that people were getting confused about who was going to be open, what's going to be open, how's it going to be open. So we kind of just brought everything that we could see on social to one sort of platform. But yeah, I think that definitely through this whole experience of someone from out of town coming in, Tourism Bay of Plenty's website would be great to go to, and probably really good for locals to start educating themselves. I find that this is another reason why, like, through the magazine, I found out through people that I'm like, oh my God, I never knew these people existed. Why did I not know that? And I think it's really important for people to be able to start educating on the things that you can do, free things. It doesn't have to be things that you have to pay for to do. It's just like finding out these people and really investigating and being able to tell that story to people is going to be really quite key for a lot of businesses. And again, that it all comes back to collaboration, like talking about the great cafes that we have, talking about the great walks that we have, talking about all these things. That doesn't have to include this massive budget a day that you've got to spend a lot of money on. So, and I think that's really key as well in this time.
And Matt, if I can just build on what Rachelle said. So the other thing with our new website is we've put a local section into it. And so No Place Like Home is a section focused to locals. And we really want to build that up with exactly what you're saying, with all of our local businesses contributing to that and also telling the stories behind those businesses. So it's all there and ready to go. We just need to keep driving the content into it.
Yes, and of course, each of the main streets, downtown Tauranga, Greerton, and Mount Maunganui Main Street, they've got wonderful references about all their spots as well. I was just wondering whether, Rachelle, of course you started up, the GFC is still, wasn't that long ago, 10 years ago, but it's still quite fresh in our minds in terms of how that changed things. You started up Little Big Markets. Just looking for what was your thought process? So when people are developing their opportunities coming out of this, how did you go about it? What barriers did you face? And yeah, any learnings?
Well, the thing with us is that we started the Little Big Markets in a recession in 2008. And the reason why I wanted to start with that is because that was quite a terrifying time for a lot of people. And, you know, like we started it because there were a lot of people that were getting laid off, getting made redundant, were out of work, but they still had a craft and they had something that they could make and do and still be able to earn some money, you know. And so the one thing that I learned from that is that we have so many talented people. It's crazy the amount of talented people that we have in New Zealand, but in particular for us in Bay of Plenty. And so I think from the learnings that I've taken over the years from that is that people love to buy from the owner operators. They love to chat with them. They love to talk to them. They will spend money with someone that they know that they can take that piece of garment home or something home and say, I had like a 20-minute chat with this guy and he was amazing and I bought this bowl that he made, you know, and that's a story behind the purchase. So I think that's a really key component that we can take from this now, that, you know, you can go into a local shop and more likely you'd be talking to the owner operator, and that's something that is like quite unique. And it's something that I think that over the years with us doing the Little Big Markets is that's one of the things that people say is that they love going to the markets and buying from the owner operators, and they get to kind of massive community buy-in. And I think there's no reason why retailers, cafes, restaurants, all the providers, they'll have the same experience by people going there and going, oh my God, I went to Pearl Kitchen and I spoke with Andrew and he's the owner, you know, like, and that's what people like to do. And that's the one thing that I can take away from that.
Andrew, well, what tips do you have for people that are looking to either start a new business or pivot? What key learnings or tips would you share with them?
Yeah, I think it's all about experiences. It's about quality, and maybe upping the quality, upping the experience, making people make it special. You know, make it a special moment for people in their lives. Like from whatever you do it the best you can. I think it's where I feel that we're moving after this event. It's not about that mass McDonald's kind of template anymore. We're kind of doing an industry reset around let's offer quality, let's offer an experience, let's offer things that people walk away with and go, that was either the best coffee or the best whatever I've had for as long as I can remember. And that buy-in just keeps going.
What I like about this conversation already, it always comes back to the customer, and it's always about businesses continually learning and having that fortitude to keep calm and carry on. Kristin, there was obviously some big themes within the tourism sector before COVID, including potentially things like flight shaming and other things that the industry had to overcome. Are there opportunities for New Zealand and or the Bay of Plenty to help put some very helpful products together in terms of making it easy for people to go do some planting, contribute to environmental projects, or to deliver some social good to help combat that, to make it easier for package tours or business tours or sports trips to come here?
Yeah, oh gosh, it's a big topic, Matt, but it's right up our alley. So very passionate about this. We had Anna Pollock here not long ago, and she describes tourism as a tsunami. So when you've got all the water rushing in, you've got too many people, that doesn't work. And now that tsunami has completely receded, and that doesn't work either. So we need to strike a happy medium there. And so becoming a destination management organisation was about managing our visitation in a more holistic way, so socially, culturally, environmentally, as well as, of course, economically. And fortuitously, we have a plan to create a regenerative tourism for the Bay of Plenty, which it means that when visitors come here, they'll help to leave it better than they found it, and that we'll all work towards that as a community as well. And that plays right into the heart of the consciousness that travellers have now about travelling, and how they do want to be able to give back, but also they want to be involved in the community. They want to meet our locals, as Rachelle was saying, and know their stories. So if we can bring visitors together with locals. And the thing that does that is matching passions together. So we've done a piece of work around what the DNA of the Bay is. That was, all of you were involved, I'm sure. And, you know, that's told us really clearly that we're passionate about our natural landscapes. We're passionate about our Maori culture. We're passionate about our horticulture. And we're passionate about our surf beaches and marine life. So if we can bring those things to life and bring people here who are passionate about those things too, then that's really the sweet spot for us. And just to Andrew's point, we'd love to work with the hospitality sector on how we can take our amazing horticulture in the Bay of Plenty and really serve that up on our plates, because that's our point of difference. That's what makes the Bay different to other hospitality precincts. And so that's something we'd really love to start working on. Avocado, kiwi fruit, manuka honey. How can we make sure we've got signature dishes around and experiences around those things? It's just one really little example of how the DNA can be brought to life. And environmentally then, the community is so behind this concept of kaitiaki and caring for our place and loving it and making sure that anyone who comes here loves it too. And so we've got some initiatives under a campaign called Tourism with Purpose, where we can bring visitors in to work alongside our amazing community groups who are doing incredible things, and add man or person power to that. Also pay for the experience to create a revenue stream, but most importantly, make sure that our taonga is really well looked after.
Andrew or Rachelle, does anyone else have any follow-ups to that? There was a lot of good points in there.
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's like with events, for example, and with, you know, like just retail in general, you know, people want to be able to have a journey and they want to be able to, you know, buy into the story that person is selling, I guess you'd say. And I think that, you know, Bay of Plenty is, you know, we have fantastic, you know, tourism aspects to us in terms of we have the beaches, we have the coastline, but, you know, we also are very unique because we have businesses that are right on the doorsteps of those coastlines, and we really need to be able to celebrate that more, and not just celebrate it in the summertime when it's like super busy all year round. We need to be able to say to people, hey, this is a beautiful place to come and stay in the winter. We're not that far from the ski slopes, you know. I mean, we live in this amazing place. We were only like, you know, 2.5 hours from the snow, and we've got the beach right there. I mean, that is such a unique selling point for us. And I think as businesses that we should be able to incorporate that in our marketing as well and be proud of that. And I think that will probably go quite a lot further rather than just talking about the business that you have. And I think that's a really important part of what we should be doing right now.
Right. Yeah, Andrew, obviously hospitality is going to be going through a pretty tough winter this year. Is there any thoughts around how, looking forward beyond this winter, how we can make it more of a year-round destination?
Yeah, actually, I lived in Melbourne early 2000s, and they went through a stage where the Melbourne city was losing money and it wasn't very vibrant, and they did a real reset around 12 months a year. There's got to be an event. It's not all pushed into one little hub. It was every month there was something for someone, and obviously that's grown over the last 20 years in Melbourne, where you've got something for everyone almost every month of the year. You can go to Melbourne, there's food, there's theatre, it's just culture. It's just they light up the city. They've got their laneways are bright, so it feels safe to go out at night. You walk around at 11 o'clock. There's still homeless people, don't get me wrong, like it's not all roses, but it's real. But you feel safe because there's a police presence, you know, they're on their horses going through. It's a big cultural thing, and you know, sometimes someone might yell at you, but it's because the city's so bright, there's lights everywhere. It doesn't feel like there's a dark corner and you can't walk up that alley because there might be something there. They've kind of lit up the city at nighttime that makes it almost feel as bright as day. And there's so much happening, you know, it's so vibrant. It's almost an international destination now, not just a national destination, through that whole planning and developing their CBD. And then obviously that just flows out to different areas from St Kilda out to Richmond. You know, it's not all roses, but there's definitely that model works.
So what's required from the private sector to invest to be able to achieve some of these really innovative products that you were just suggesting? Is because I know that it's highly competitive. There's a massive competition for labour, particularly pre-COVID-19, and it was quite low margins. How does the private sector invest to create these wonderful products?
Yeah, it's a really good. I did some thinking on that yesterday, actually. I was just looking at, obviously, I've talked to quite a lot of restaurateurs over the lockdown. Everyone was calling, talking about what are your plans, what are you doing next. So, and I spoke to quite a few that are based in Tauranga, and they're obviously a lease isn't the biggest cost to our business. You know, it's between 6 and 10% usually of your turnover. Obviously, if your turnover drops, that suddenly goes up. But I was thinking there's got to be more of a, you know, from the landlord's perspective, there could be a buy-in, whether they buy into your business entity and offer you less rent, but they get a kickback at the end if it's all viable. I don't know, there's got to be some type of, maybe more conversations. It's not just a clean sign your lease, 10 years or 3x3x3. It's more of a buy-in and a supporting kind of role from people that own, you know, multiple buildings. You know, they're not short of coin, but they need to run a business as well. But they have a lot of insight into how to run a business and profit margins. They support you because you're part of them almost. There might be something, I know that sounds quite big, but it could be some type of collaborative way around moving forward, especially in the CBD of Tauranga. I think the Mount's a little bit different. They seem to have a little bit of a culture thing that they've developed over the last probably 10 years. And it feels a different entity to when you go to Tauranga. I drove through Tauranga last Thursday after coming back from Gilmore's, and I was like, I hadn't been there for the whole lockdown, and I was really surprised there was more closed buildings than I've ever seen in any CBD in any country in the world, really. And it's really sad. And I was like, well, there needs to be something from the landlord to support businesses in there. You know, when you have lower rents, you attract the people that are younger that are trying to start a business up. You know, like what Rachel did at our place is giving people that are launching a business an opportunity to do a stepping stone. You know, they might go from a container to a bricks and mortar that they own. So she's given them a stepping stone, but there's almost like the landlord's got to go, okay, you know, you might be a jeweler doing handcrafted jewelry retail, or a chef doing something amazing, but they need a hand. These people that are 20 and 30 that are passionate, got energy to do this, if they wait until they're 40, they're just going to work and then not do it, because the risk becomes more when you have children and mortgages and all that kind of stuff. So I looked at, we went to San Francisco a couple of years ago, sorry to just blubble, and the Mission is like a little area that's, you probably wouldn't set up a business in because it's high kind of unemployment, but the leases were so low, a lot of really kind of funky businesses set up, and from there they moved to others. But the Mission is like a destination for food. If you want to eat great Mexican, great Chinese, awesome bakeries, like, because we went to a bakery and we queued for an hour in a sub kind of not a high end part of town. You know, it's kind of, it becomes a destination because you've let these businesses start to grow. It's got to be a starting point. It has to be.
I think that equity share with the landlord's amazing. It's a great idea. Andrew, Rachelle, any thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, like Andrew said, like, you know, the reason why we started our place Tauranga in the CBD was because of the fact that we had such a success rate with the markets, with people coming in and starting out. And then they kind of also wanted to sort of take that leap to somewhere else. But, you know, rents are just so high that it's just really scares people away. And that was kind of, you know, there was a few other reasons as well, in terms of the building came down, et cetera, and the city needed, you know, a little bit more of a push. And so it was sort of, that's how it was born. But, you know, for us, it's like, we've created a space in there so that people can come in, like the Johnny's Dumplings, who are renowned for their dumplings, you know, and he started at the markets and then he moved in with the Rising Tide, and then we moved in and he's done another thing over at our place, and that's fantastic. And there's lots of stories like that. It's more so the fact that also it's so tricky to understand and to ascertain what you need to do in the CBD, and that's a whole nother chapter, because it's like, there's so much going on there that it seems to be too much development, which we need, but at the same time, it's sort of like, how do you manage that at the same time of people trying to trade? So I think that, like Andrew was saying, it's going to be about destination at the moment with the CBD. People will go to the CBD to get their ramen from the ramen guy. They will go to the CBD to get their dumplings from the dumpling guy. And so that's unfortunately the way that it is at the moment. And with COVID happening, we are probably going to see a lot more vacant spaces coming up. But it's just that I think landlords do need to start taking, or developers do need to start taking some responsibility and being able to say, hey, would we prefer to have this space empty with no one in it, making nothing? Or would we prefer to get somebody in there that's at a level that we can help through the process and, you know, give them a leg up? And I think that's really important. And I think, you know, that is something that I think needs to be discussed more and looked into further, because I do believe that if you got a lot of really cool people doing some really great things all in one area, people will come, you know, like they will, and it'll just create that driving force of people to come back and to revisit the city again, you know. And so I think it needs to start from the top to trickle down, and because people won't be able to afford, they'll just look at the math and go, nope, I can't do that, you know. And I think that's a real shame, because we do have a lot of entrepreneurs here. We do have a lot of people that would want to and is hungry to do their business. It's just that they just look at the math and go, I wouldn't be able to survive it. So we need to look at that side of things to be able to make sure that we are getting new businesses and new people opening up and wanting to stay in the city or stay in a retail space, you know. And I think that's really important for us to nurture them and those people through that time.
Yes, no, that's great. Before we hit our final thoughts questions, I thought I'll go to Kristin for, this is your bread and butter around destination management and facilitation. What's required to develop more tourism products and really good quality tourism products in the region?
Yeah, so first thing is we need to understand who we are and what we want to develop. Sometimes we know we get asked to be more like Queenstown or more like Rotorua, or why don't we have this? And actually we don't have it because it's not who we are. So getting really clear on that has been fundamental. And then fortunately our councils have invested in us having product development expertise. So I see Brad Rowe, our product developer, is on this actually. And we've really boosted that team now through COVID. We've added 3 more resources into that area to help with existing businesses and how they need to maybe pivot and change, but also we've actually had a heap of contact from people who've had all these great ideas through lockdown and all of a sudden want to make changes and want to start creating new things. And also from investors. So us actively being able to manage those leads, but do it to our DNA framework, so that when we develop these things, we're still the Bay of Plenty. So we don't want to all of a sudden become like somebody else, because we have to be us. And so it's been really important to have that framework, that lens to develop through. And that's where the DNA elements, like our natural features and how we open those up. And that of course has to be done in partnership with our iwi and hapu. But also, how do we develop that surf culture? The Mount has a vibe going on, and how do we make sure that it stays there and we don't all of a sudden start developing things there that aren't the Mount? Papamoa also has an amazing vibe. We don't want that to suddenly become like the Gold Coast. And Tauranga CBD, I don't know what its vibe is. I do think some placemaking work in there would be really helpful, so that we were all working to a plan for that CBD that was around, like Melbourne did, that was a placemaking plan.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, no, that's spot on. I was just watching the Reverend movie again last night with Leonardo as his first Oscar that he received for that movie. And geez, Tauranga's got some amazing stories, and I'm sure if there's a creative movie director out there, it's got some very colourful, amazing stories around the whole peninsula and the wider area. Looking for each of your final thoughts. It's been a really good conversation, and everyone stayed on, all the attendees. It's been great. And of course, this will be recorded and put on our YouTube soon. Just your final thoughts, particularly from James from Cuisine Concepts. It's got a question there around what are some positives and some tips moving forward for each of your respective areas. Perhaps we start with Andrew.
Yeah, I think for us, it's utilising technology, customer engagement, and just making sure that customer engagement and technology. That's the two things we're focusing on right now, making sure we deliver the best we can deliver every day. And I think that's what we're focused on our team. We have a little briefing in the morning. And we're just really about focusing on about everything we produce, the best coffee, every coffee. If you're not happy, don't serve it. And just really focus about everything being handmade and crafted and quality.
Rachelle, any thoughts from you?
So for us, it's kind of around making sure that we keep our connections tight. Like, for example, like all of the collaborations and all the partnerships that we do in our business already and in our community already, we're just making sure that we keep those tight and we just keep supporting each other. I mean, it's a massive, massive part of who we are. It's in our DNA to make sure that we support each other. And now it's just making sure that we support each other in different ways in terms of digitally, because obviously that's what's happening out there at the moment, and just making sure that we are telling those stories and being supportive of each other and working together. And I know that seems really sort of cliche, but it is actually about that at the moment. It's about nurturing and supporting each other and making sure that you encourage each other and to say, like there's a prime example is like, you don't want to lay staff off. Okay, well, if your business is now shrunk, how can we support each other to make sure we could potentially share staff? We could have a digital marketing manager that we could share, and that keeps them in business. It keeps them there. It keeps things circulating. So it's not about the traditional way of thinking anymore. It's about how we can all think outside the box to make sure that we're sharing resources, we're supporting each other, and that resources could be staff. So I just think it's really important to not necessarily throw out the way that we've been brought up to think in business. It's also about just making new spaces and new innovative ideas of how we can all work together. So I think that's super important for us. And just supporting each other really is the main thing, I think.
Great. Kristin, final thoughts from you?
I think the massive positive that will come out of this is just so much more appreciation for retail, hospitality and tourism, and both from locals wanting to come back out and enjoy our favourite things, but also an appreciation that visitors really do make a difference to our town. They help keep businesses going, and we need the mix of both, right? So for the community to have great amenities, great restaurants, great cafes, great shops, we need visitors there to help with the cash flow, particularly through the winter and leaner months. And so we take that role really seriously, and we were seeing some amazing growth pre-COVID. We were well above national average in terms of growth from international and also domestic visitors. So I really hope that our governors, our funders, they all have a much better appreciation for this sector and are there behind us as we try and get us all back on our feet.
Oh, look, that's great. We'll wrap it up there. Thank you very much, everyone. I know how it's a big day for everyone, particularly starting back at work. Thanks, Andrew, for taking time out. You better get ready for lunch. Thank you very much. Just a quick summary. It sounds like customers, partnerships, and continual learning is probably the three biggest takeaways. Thank you very much for your time. This will be on YouTube for everyone to look at later on. Hope you enjoy yourselves today. Have a great day. I'm in the mood for a beer and a burger. Look, thank you everyone for being here. Thanks for joining the Tauranga Chamber of Commerce webinar. Thank you.